Hello, hello. Thank you for tuning into Kind of Fake News.
where we don't take ourselves too seriously.
And you can't fact check half of this.
That's right. We'd like to give a special shout out to Turn It Up Live for making this all possible. Special shout out to Michael Anthony as well. You can find us on www.turnitupproductions.com. That's with one P, turnitupproductions.com. And also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're all over there. But we always have these shows come out, and it helps you to learn, smile, wander, wonder. And we have lots of things we delve into, and we're going to get it started off with Sarah. What do you have for us today?
Thank you. So I'm actually going to be like reading right from the paper because I didn't have time to memorize all of this. It's been a crazy week. So, okay. So what I'm going to focus on is more towards the end of the month is where sort of the more exciting or relevant stuff happens. So, on May 20th, and this is exciting, right? Because me and you are both Geminis. So May 20th is when Gemini season starts. And so Gemini season really represents, right? We know the twins, like the different sides of the coin, right? It really represents duality, evolution. They're the social butterflies. So that kind of is the tone that we're going towards the end of the month. And a really funny thing that I found really interesting was May 21st is my birthday. And so on May 21st, the sun in Gemini squares Jupiter in Pisces, which, long story short, it like represents like selfishness, vanity, overconfidence, like all these negative things.
Yeah, all the negative traits of Gemini.
Yeah, like the shadow side of Gemini. So that's exciting. That's on my birthday. Super stoked. So exciting.
For all the negative things.
All the negative things. In my glory. So then the 23rd, Saturn goes retrograde in Aquarius. So basically, this kind of brings concern. Like it kind of gives the vibe of like not having a lot of confidence in the future, right? Like when we have those worries, we don't know what's going to happen. It brings the feelings of like wanting to escape responsibility or like berating yourself for mistakes and things like this. So the key towards the end of May is going to be just perseverance and discipline. It's just one of those things where you just have to be careful. Don't get too down on yourself. Don't stress or worry too much. And then, so that brings us to May 25th, which is actually better, right? It kind of helps alleviate that. It's the Grand Water Trine. So, and this, so the Grand Water Trine, that's a sign of good fortune. So specifically, the trine is the moon in Scorpio, Mars in Cancer, and Neptune in Pisces. So this is in alignment that it pretty much promotes the link with your intuition, creative inspiration, emotional intelligence, like in the inner world, like mysticism and stuff like that. And so it's pretty much like, it's kind of like a good luck day, you know. It's so I would expect positive things, positive feelings. It just kind of promotes that. It creates that energy for good things to happen. So that's a really that's a really good one. And then right at the end of May, Mercury goes retrograde, and that's in Gemini. So the big thing, and it's going to be retrograde until June 22nd. So that's an important thing. And just to expand on the retrograde a little bit for this one. So the important things that you want to focus on when Mercury's in retrograde at all, but especially in Gemini, like that Gemini is like the social area, things like that. So verify info before you issue it out. So like Google your posts before you post them.
People should do that all the time.
Yeah. But you're definitely at higher risk when Mercury's in retrograde, where you're gonna post something and be like, "Oh shit, didn't know what the fuck I was talking about." So, also, whenever Mercury's in retrograde, it's not a great time to sign contracts or agreements. So that's an interesting thing too. I don't know if we've talked about that yet before, but they always say don't commit to anything major when Mercury's in retrograde. It being in Gemini, try to be mindful and steer clear of avoid getting involved in like rumors or misunderstandings with people. This is really an energy that can bring that easily. So that's at the end. That starts at the end of May and then goes till June 22nd. Also, another thing with retrogrades is don't talk to any of your exes. Or do, because retrogrades are a time to like reflect and you kind of wrap up
in the past.
Yeah. You get closure on things. So something may come up with an ex-friend, an ex-lover, and it might just be a time. So if someone pops up in retrograde, first of all, you know that they're your past, right? They're only popping up because Mercury in retrograde brings like reflection, tying up loose ends. So that might be a time if there's any closure that you need or anything, that's a good time to do it. But really, it's just don't. So
it kind of sounds like, so the beginning of the end of May, it starts off with like worry. So probably is going to be some warm weather. People are kind of ditching their responsibilities and get overwhelmed with it. And then they go to the spiritual side where they're like, you know what? I need this time for me. And then like, I feel like people are going to be like, all right, let me get into this warm weather rather than stressing out from it because of responsibilities. And then you're getting so giddy. Now you got to worry about past things coming up and making decisions.
Well, think about it, because once hot girl, hot boy summer starts, all the exes are popping up.
Right. So it's like beware.
You're getting yourself into more trouble because you're out there thoughting around. You know what I mean?
Oh, jeez.
Shaking that ass.
Somebody's out there thoughting around.
Not it.
Especially after like a whole year of COVID, or someone's like, I can't wait to get to the beach and wait, why would someone want to show their COVID body?
True.
That's why they go for the exes.
Yeah.
Like I can't find somebody new right now. I mean,
they're sick. Yeah, I can't find anybody new right now.
Like, let me just go back to the exes because I gained 25 pounds.
You guys are crazy.
They're safe. They like my personality.
It's like instead of freshman 15, it's like COVID 15. It's like a new one.
That is so funny.
So is that our May? We have more.
So I just want to go over the moons, right? Just touch quick on the moon. So May 11th is the new moon in Taurus. So that's kind of in the beginning of the month. And so as we always know, I always like to remind everyone and let everyone know like when the new moon is and the full moon is. The 11th is the new moon. It's in Taurus because it's not
Taurus season.
Yeah. So this is really about trusting your intuition. This is a really good time to like dream up a whole new reality. Taurus is about grounding, stability. So that's going to help you with grounding and bringing in your new reality. So this is the time you want to set intentions. If you want to like change your life, or you're like, I need to shake things up, I need to go a different path, this is a really, really great time. So remember, the new moons, we set the intentions, right, for new things. And then the full moon is May 26th. So it's the second one of the two super moons. And so in April, there was the pink super moon.
Yep.
And now it's a flower moon. It's also a super moon. And it's the closest moon of the year.
That's the yellow moon, right?
I think so. There's a bunch of different.
Moon, the yellow moon
is like the closest one.
Yeah, yeah. They have so many different names. There's like a whole list. But so this one, and whenever the moon is closest, obviously, whenever a planet is closer, the effect is amplified, right? You know, so it's a bit stronger, right? And the full moons are the times of like releasing, right? So everyone gets a little wacky on the full moon, emotions come up. If anything comes up around this time, it's to release it, right? It's you got to feel it to heal it, like we've talked about. So if anything comes up, that's a good thing. Embrace what you're feeling at that time. This moon, it's really it's an auspicious time for conceiving. So it's a very fertile full moon, they say, because spring has sprung. So
like, make sure your birth control is all set up right. Watch out for those werewolves.
The only thing that needs to get sprung is that birth control.
Got them werewolves out on the full moon.
Oh, but yeah, so this
It's like, what are you guys talking about?
Science, man. Can you guys hear me on this?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't hear myself, so I'm confused when I talk.
I hear you really good. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, confused can be a good look for you.
Yeah. So yeah, so this full moon is just really springy. It's about love, laughter, celebration, pleasure, stuff like that. And it's also a lunar eclipse too. So, but this is gonna be like in other parts of the world. Those in the US east of Mississippi will see a partial lunar eclipse. So just something to keep an eye out for. It might look pretty cool. But that's it for astrology.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I don't even think I did the introductions in the beginning, but our astrology guru, that was Sarah Sanchez. And I'm Celina Bryan, your holistic alternative expert. And then we have Jarett Cicero, our conspiracy head. So we're going to get on over into our holistic review. So I'm going to focus on something called nootropics. So they're considered like smart drugs. They're drugs or supplements or a substance that improve, cognitive function, memory, creativity, motivation, like alertness, verbal recall, problem solving, and it's a stress reducer. So it's kind of like a brain drug or supplement. There's kind of like three different categories. You have your natural kinds, your synthetic kinds, and your prescription kinds. So the prescription ones you may have heard of, there is like Adderall, Ritalin, Provigil. So a lot of them in this class are a type of amphetamine. Most of these treat for like ADHD or narcolepsy and things like that. And you got to be careful, obviously, make sure you're prescribed it, so on and so forth. I'm not a doctor.
Those are nootropics?
Yep. So those are the prescription type because of the brain functions that it alters. But it's easy to find types of nootropics that are natural. So like your ginkgo, that's like from a tree. If you've heard of ginkgo, there's just the caffeine and nicotine itself are nootropics because they're stimulants. You have one that's called Rhodiola rosea, so that's like a herb. It helps with stress and like cognition. Oat straw, it's harvested before the seed matures, so that's for like memory and concentration. You have cat's claw, that's a vine. It helps with your immune system, stress and pain. I always say it wrong. Hyperzine A, which is found in like Chinese moss, and then there's tons of them, but these are just like the big ones that are just very, very natural ones. And then you have theanine and tyrosine when used together. They help brain function and energy, and it's found in black tea and mushrooms. So you can find these nootropics in nature, natural versions of it, but obviously the more extreme potent versions are the prescription ones, which typically tend to be amphetamines, are like your Adderalls and your Ritalins and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I take this stuff called Alpha Brain.
I get from on it, and
Okay.
it's pretty effective. They say to take 2 a day. I couldn't imagine taking 2 a day, so I take one,
And it
and
does
then
it.
yeah, and you notice it immediately, and then after a week I'll stop, so then I can just get the full boost of it every week on and off, on and off.
Right. And like,
Nice.
so you have your prescription ones and natural ones. So that's like a synthetic one. So when they put a bunch of things together to make a nootropic in like a lab or whatever. So
Yeah,
that
it
would
was
be an
like all
example.
that stuff that you had mentioned.
Right. So all that stuff you're gonna see found in the synthetic supplements. That's one of them. Some of the ones I've done a lot of research on a bunch of the different kinds. I'm sure there's tons of more research you can do, but some of the top ones that have really great reviews on it without like any kind of side effects because of how natural they are like it's called like No Cube. It's like NOOCUBE or New Cube. There's Qualiamind. There's Stonehenge, which is like Stonehenge Health Dynamic Brain. You'll see all these products. You can just look them up, and they all compete with each other. But a lot of them will have all those things that I listed within them. So they're also types of supplements. Also, like vitamin B6, B12, B9. All those are also
Yeah.
considered
B.
that. Yeah, because they help your brain function and energy and reduce stress.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
that kind of puts all the nootropics together, or novotropics. I've heard it like pronounced so many ways.
Yeah. The nootropics are like your go-go juice.
Your go-go juice. Yeah,
Go-go.
that's right. But like if there's people that are thinking about being prescribed Ritalin or Adderall, maybe try some of these first to see if they work for you, or if you're on one of those, because they can be very addictive, and you want to maybe wean off of them onto something else, look at some of those holistic alternatives. I mean, a lot of people, use nicotine and caffeine just to get through their day or get their day started. So it's no surprise. I mean, it helps you feel like you're functioning at a higher level. So
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
are all
Sure.
smart drugs because they affect your, brain activity.
Yeah.
So that's more the holistic approach to my section. But I did want to kind of get into another brain drug, I guess you could call it. This one's definitely not an alternative. This is actually considered one of the scariest drugs because of effects that it has on a person's mind. And it goes by a ton of different names. It goes by Bachero, the Burandaga, scopolamine, hyacin, or the devil's breath is the scary name for it. I just kind of wanted to touch on that because of the effects that it has, and a lot of people don't know that it exists. And a lot of this you don't really see in America, but this specific drug has had crime rates go up in France, South America. Over 50,000 incidents have occurred annually just in Colombia alone. So it's a plant that is from nightshade, or angel's trumpet, and they use the roots or seeds, and it could just be eaten or crushed up into a powder, and it's a type of what they call like a yes drug or a date rape drug. um it's more potent than a roofie, so it's really scary, and a lot of people use it that like are burglars or like drug cartel or like common street criminals. And a lot of times like in shady investigations for interrogations, they use it as like a truth serum.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and it causes symptoms like hallucinations, amnesia, cardiac arrhythmia, dementia. So a lot of criminals will use this, and like I said, it's way more strong than a roofie. You can just blow it into someone's face, for example, and it'll take effect immediately. And you can convince them to do things, and they'll just be like, "Yep, okay."
Like dust, like
Yeah, like that's what a lot of times when it's used in crime, like date rape and things like that. So,
Wives
for
need
example,
for their husbands.
well, it's scary because, for example, okay, say you're at the bar, you're drunk, you're
Yeah.
taking your card out to pay for drinks and stuff. You got your card in your hand, you turn around, someone blows this dust in your face,
Right. You have it's
and
not
all
even
of a sudden you
about
go
it,
and the drug takes effect immediately, and then the person can just be like, "Hey, why don't we go to the ATM together?" And you'd be like, "Sure." You become super like agreeable and
yeah.
just go
So it's
along
like
with it.
even if you're safe, you don't leave your drinks, you stay with
Right.
friends. Like you just don't know how quick
this is on a street level too. Like imagine when like, you know, government officials, I'm sure were the ones that put the shit together to begin with.
Well,
Or
the
not to begin
interesting
with, but like
are using it.
utilized it,
Right.
weaponized it, you know.
Well, the thing is that it's been used for thousands of years in rituals. It goes way back. But more modernly, it had been used for anesthetics and motion sickness and things like that. Not right now, but in more modern history, because you get amnesia. So when people are using it for crimes, you know, you can walk someone up to the ATM because they just blew it in your face, clear out your bank account, hand it to them, say, "Have a nice day," or "You want to go dancing," or "Everything's fine," and then you
Right,
wake
and then
up.
they can't report it. They're like their
No,
video
you
is
wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh, my house has been robbed. Like, what happened? And then you watch like your video footage security camera and you're handing away your money and your possessions to somebody and you don't even remember it.
And it's
Crazy.
not
Yeah.
something that is like tested for regularly either. Like they wouldn't even know to look in your system for whatever that is that did that to you.
Right. So, I mean, it's obviously caused tons of criminal activity. And it's not as used as like
you could have
a
someone
regular
go do
street
like
drug.
rob a bank for you, and then they take the hit. You know,
Exactly. So of those like 50,000 incidences in Colombia alone, these are the type of incidences that have happened.
right?
You know, when people are like, I got robbed and my video footage shows that I handed this to a guy, but I don't remember any of this and I wouldn't have done that. So a lot of these kind of incidences make that crime activity. You don't see it as much as in America, but
Yeah.
it's not really sold as a street drug like, you know, crack or cocaine or anything is. It's more used by criminals and kept within, you know, cartel rings and things like that. But you can definitely, I mean, it's nightshade is a plant called Angel's Trumpet. I'm sure you could just easily find it down there.
Is it a flower?
Right.
Yeah. So, Angel's Trumpet is a type of nightshade. So there's like, you know, a whole category of these plants that you can pick from, but you would like use the roots or seeds to pull out, you know, the part that gives you that effect.
Yeah, I've heard of this stuff called datura before, and it's an odd plant. It grows in a pod, falls out of
It's
a
the same
tree.
thing.
Same, yeah,
Burachero or Burndaga, scopolamine, they're all the same thing.
yeah. And there's a lot of references online to military using it. It was used in the MK Ultra trials, and then there's documented events of them using it for recreational purposes, and actually led to their death. It's far more poisonous than like mushrooms or something, you know. But they were using it for, you know, those purposes.
Yeah, it seems like it's not a type of thing that you would typically use for recreation because of if you dose yourself slightly wrong, you can just die. Like
Right.
you have to really know what you're doing for it to give you like a pleasant recreational effect. But that's crazy. So that's my
I
kind of
read
holistic
it.
review,
It's
but
like,
it's
oh, I
scary.
can feel great or die.
Right, it makes you like wonder, like, oh, what if I've already had this used on me and I didn't even know? Like, I just gave someone like, the money in my purse and just didn't remember.
Right.
Yeah, I've spoke to people personally that have had that stuff, and they speak of seeing like mirages, like things, like having full-blown conversations with people that are actually not there, which is like so far out of the realm of what hallucinating is in a recreational way. You know, it's a complete dissociative. Like you're saying, you could completely elaborately convince somebody to do something that they're not aware of or have been trained to do, and it activates a part in the brain. Because from the conspiracy standpoint, there's a lot of literature and then documented events where certain parties use this stuff. You can watch videos on it where they got soldiers and regular citizens all intoxicated on it. Celebrities known today were a part of these trials, like what Whitey Bulger, Charles Manson. You know, there's a handful of them, and it's been alleged that this is the stuff that they also use for like their patsy crimes, like in the events of like assassinations or public shootings, terrorist events. You know.
That would make sense because if they're trying to pin it on somebody and that person's trying to have an alibi and you gave them something like this, they'll be like, oh, well, I don't really remember what I did last night.
Well,
Or you made them do it.
in a lot of
Right.
cases, the people that have been caught, it's almost like they wake up out of some sort of stupor after the crime has been committed. They don't know who they are, where they are, what's going on. They even
Right.
say
Yeah. They
things like
don't
they've
know.
been used or a patsy or have weird history with the government. It's nuts.
Right. And like if you get a high enough dose, you can actually have long term dementia. So not just trying to recover from it happening like the night before, but you can have long term dementia effects for the rest of your life.
Right. Well,
Certain
they
doses.
say the same thing from mushrooms and acid. If
I
you
know
have
that.
eaten mushrooms or acid more than 2 or 3 times, when you take the ASVAT or any kind of military test to join, whichever branch, you're immediately disqualified if they know that history, or if it's documented in a outpatient inpatient facility on paper medically, you won't. I mean,
That's
you may
crazy.
be able to get some sort of technical waiver, but I bet you it's easier to get a waiver for committing arson than it is for eating mushrooms.
Right, because it's like if it's affected you long term, like what are you really gonna do about it?
But then, in
Right.
the same standpoint, they use mushrooms to treat people that return home from war.
Oh, that's right.
So,
A lot like
Yeah.
the PTSD situation.
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty bizarre. And I wouldn't hesitate to think these things are being used currently. If you turn the TV on, you see numerous amounts of shootings. They're all taking place in very tight knit quarters of each other, and they're public events. You know what I'm saying? They're not like low level street, related types of crimes. And it's
Yeah.
funny how they make such a much of a bigger publication out of like 3 or 4 people dying in public. Not that that's not terrible, but
Right.
in Buffalo, like this past weekend, there was like 87 homicides or some shit, or the weekend before that, it was some crazy
Wow.
number like that. And that's Buffalo. Then you think about Rochester, Syracuse, you go all the way to Chicago, and all these other places. That's not put on TV, or they're not talking about changing gun laws because of that. It's
Right.
almost always when it's one of these incidents that there's all this conspiracy behind to begin with, and the conspiracy about them wanting to attack guns. So how convenient is it for a conspiracy theorist that the person shooting everybody looks like a maniac that they would use as a patsy to begin with?
Right.
And then in the name of that, let's get rid of guns. But who cares about, the streets and how terrible and fucked up they are? They don't want to pass any legislation to fix that.
Right.
So it makes you wonder, like, so it's like, are they trying to pass an agenda and then they zoom in as a news cycle on these incidences happening, or are these incidences happening a lot more than we think, but or a lot less than we think? It's just how they're spinning it to push
Yeah.
their specific agenda.
Right.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
makes you wonder.
The media
I think if
has
we
control
took a
over
poll,
all of that.
if we took a poll, I bet it would be 50% or better that didn't really jive with what happens on TV.
Right.
You know?
Well, and that's like on any political standpoint or
Not on
across
that,
the
or
board.
whatever
Yeah.
station it is, just as a collective, people are like, I don't believe that shit. But then when it comes down to getting news from somewhere, you're like, well, I'd rather listen to this one than that one. But then I still think on a very surface level, a lot of people don't believe that shit. And that's why the news sources have fallen apart, and everyone
Right.
goes to Facebook and Twitter and all these other places for news. No one gives a shit about the New York Times or Fox News or CNN or any one of them.
And I think we're at like a point where it's like everyone knows like whatever you're watching, you're trying to get like the basics of the news of what the story is, and anything from there, everyone's making their own ideas of if they agree or disagree with it at this point, just because any channel you turn to, it's a different viewpoint of it.
Right.
And not everybody's a journalist either. There's people that go to like school and train to do that, and they still don't uphold like the ethics of what being a journalist is. And then there's people that have never done none of that, and they catch something on their phone and they really try to put it out there for fact because it is. You can't dispute something that's caught on somebody's phone. But
Right.
the crazy articles that some people, spend a lot of money and time to get a piece of paper to certify them as an authority, write all this shit to kind of trick people into believing stuff.
Right. Like
Right.
I definitely more so trust the word of someone who's like going Facebook live at a situation because they
Yeah.
don't have any like personal spin on it. If you're listening to
Right.
like a news station, from whatever corporate trickles down of what their bias is going to be is how they have to report it. If I'm watching somebody be live on Facebook at an event and they're saying, "Yo, this just happened, this just
Live.
happened,"
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
Yeah.
then
trust in that a lot
and then
more.
you see the shit happen in the background. You're like, yeah,
Right. Like, see those bombs? Like, I'm here right now. Like, it's a little different than a news channel doing it because you don't know what. If they're like, oh, we need a certain camera angle to make that person look bad or that person look good, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the more of that happens, the harder time they have at coming down and everything to keep a controlled narrative. Because anybody can just go anywhere and throw up a phone and catch what's really happening without it having to go through their filter of reality first. It goes
Right.
directly to the viewer from the place.
Right. And it makes you wonder if these like mind altering drugs, since they're like really big in France and mostly like South America right now, if they've already been that big here, we just don't know about it because they don't want us to know about it. Because if people got wise to it, we'd question things even more than we already do.
Right. Yeah. And I feel
Yeah.
like once you're bombarded with so much news, right? So many things, and then a lot of them end up not really being true, or I feel like people have kind of learned to like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on like my immediate reality and what's affecting me in this moment because I don't know what's true or not, you know?
Right.
So a lot of people just start to turn the news off.
I know I stopped doing that for a little bit, stopped watching the news for a little bit there.
I think you
It's
go through
almost like
phases, right?
it's
There will
almost
be
like your
times where you're
body
like,
forces you to do it.
yeah, there are times where you're like, I don't have enough. I do not have enough space to hold this. I can't, I cannot hold space for this news. And it's too heavy and you turn it off for a while. But then I think people go through phases, when things get really heavy or stuff, a lot of stuff is going on. You're forced to, your body makes you, like you said.
Right. And as long as like you cut away from the personal opinion, like, okay, yeah, you're gonna watch the news because you want to know, when the election's coming up or when the next stimulus check is coming out and for your factual information. But then when you get into spins, they have these news cycles. Like they're like, okay, our last news cycle was this. Now our next news cycle, we're gonna make sure we focus the next 3 months on, you know, the climate and climate change. And then after that, we're gonna focus back on like gun laws. And they have it specifically set instead of actually what's going on right now.
Yeah,
Right.
Specifically.
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah.
put it through
That
a
was
talking
scheduled.
head to curate it specifically for like certain categories of individuals. You know what I mean? And then each show will have like 4 or 5 people that like fit that, and then they're all just saying like the crazy shit from their personality to try to relate to those personality types. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Right.
you think it's automatically true because someone that you kind of jive with is saying it.
Right.
And they all do it, from the news to all the other channels that try to be the news.
Yeah, it's like I feel like a lot of it is supposed to be like sensational so that you keep wanting to tune in.
Yeah.
Like I had one person that was talking to me how they were upset. They're like, "Oh, I heard they're getting rid of menthol cigarettes and getting all hyped about it." And I'm like, "Well, they may be,
People got hyped.
like they may be, or they may not be. But why get upset and hyped about it now? Why don't you wait till like something actually happens? It could just be hearsay. It could be, a plan, and then oh maybe they do it, but it's just like they did with like the flavored vapes, and it only lasts for like a couple months, and then they're back on the shelves. Like I'm just like, don't let it stress you out.
I remember when everyone thought that Trump was banning TikTok.
Right. That didn't happen.
My child was in a frenzy, heartbroken, shattered.
But it's like, I think the fact that the energy that's going out there is always something of panic or frantic or worry
Yeah.
and gossip. it's kind of making the whole vibration of the country off kilter, when instead it's like you can hear some information like, oh, I heard menthol cigarettes are being banned and I'm a menthol cigarette smoker. I would take more of a, okay, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll look out for like a little bit more information.
It's half of
But,
their money.
Yeah.
There's no way they're gonna do that.
right. Yeah, I had so many questions right away. I was like, how can I do that? You know,
Yeah, you have to vet the news that you watch and decide, have discernment with it, really.
so a lot of people will say like a lot of hype on which way they want to sway you. Um, you hear a news story and it's kind of vibing with your normal bias, so then you'll just use that and attack at it to like try to sway your friends or sway somebody. But I feel like if everyone steered away from that and just kind of like maybe said a news piece, like just the specific facts.
Now, this other problem with getting news from these social media websites, right? You know what Russia and these other countries were doing? They were employing people in call centers pretty much, right? To make fake Facebook accounts in America to pose as different groups that do not get along. Like a pro-American group and then like a Muslim group and then organize a meeting like right across the street from each other.
Oh, purposely.
Purposely just to cause problems.
Those are the agitators.
Right. So like
causing chaos.
how
Yeah.
much of that the stuff on there is real? Like you could be on there like rattling off some shit and arguing with someone and people are backing you up. They could all be robots. Like unless you really like know, who
Right.
your homies are on there.
Right.
Well, the chaos helps those in power, because
Right,
if you have
absolutely.
disorganization, people are going to look for something to follow. So a lot of
Yeah.
these news stories will do that, and that's on all sides of the aisle. No matter
Yeah.
what it is that you follow, just be careful what you're taking in, even if it does sound like your storyline that you typically, ride with. Just double check, look into a few things, talk to your friends, and don't just head first into something to be angry or irate and mess up your vibration, let alone other people's vibration around you.
Right.
Always be focused on improving the quality of your life.
Yeah.
And that's why we like to call this kind of fake news. It's putting that word in your ear, and then it's up to you to take the things that you hear here. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. Don't just drop your Adderall prescription and start drinking caffeine in a replacement. I don't need no Adderall. I'll just drink 10 more cups of coffee.
My friend Celina said.
I get some phone calls.
Right.
So yeah, it's putting like a bug in your ear, like, oh, I didn't know that there was an alternative to Adderall possibly. Let me look further into it and do my own research. We're supposed to be helping you expand your mind and think maybe different ways than you've already been thinking before. That's what you should be doing with any kind of news you're intaking.
And it's the same way with astrology, right? Because there's alignments and transits that might have an influence, but you decide, like at the end of the day, and that's a really big thing that is so important to learn, is that you decide, you set your own intentions, you have your own will. And then especially with the knowledge of, oh, okay, the energies might have a little bit of influence of this today. So I'm going to be mindful of that and set the intention to have this kind of day or to handle it this way, So it doesn't always mean, something bad's going to happen, something good's going to happen. At the end of the day, you really, especially with awareness, you get to really choose how you allow things to affect you.
Right. And that also goes for is like putting things in boxes or labeling. A lot of people start to, if they're that influenceable, they'll put things in boxes. Like, for example, I'm really into astrology and I'll talk about how I'm a Gemini. She'll talk about how she's a Gemini. I'll talk about how Libra and Gemini are compatible. And then someone will be like, oh, wait, I thought you were a Christian. How can you subscribe to thoughts about this? Isn't that putting too much attention to like false idols, blah, 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 blah. No, this is for fun. I'm not going to, make a decision on whether or not I'm going to pay rent based off of a zodiac sign.
Exactly.
You're not putting your all in it.
I so exactly feel the same way, because a big thing is like, at the end of the day, I have a strong relationship with God. I pray, I have faith. That's where most of my heart and energy is placed, right? The astrology is the just that fun piece, just whatever. But at the end of the day, the astrology and the transit isn't the thing that's looking out for me, isn't the thing that's going to save my life or protect me or things like that. So it's just so important to be, I think it really just, and I love this podcast too, because it's just really balanced, right? It's a little bit of knowledge here and there, but it's also, don't take it so seriously, you know, with the astrology, with whatever, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you have your own beliefs, you have your own God, if you believe in one. And, you know, that's, at the end of the day, what you really have faith in is what matters.
Right. One of the big things I think, like the astrology signs, for example, since we're on that example, help with like knowing yourself. So no, if you are a Gemini, doesn't mean that you're necessarily, talkative and social and blah blah blah. But it can help you understand and look at it, be like, oh well, I don't really think I'm that, but there's other qualities in this list that I think vibe with me, and that helps boost your confidence. That helps you be
Right.
like, oh, it says I'm supposed to be creative. Let me get more into my creative side. I'm gonna start painting more, or it just helps you get into
And
you more.
it helps people with connection and feeling like a part of a bigger group, right?
Mhm.
We all need that connection and identity and community. And sometimes, like if you're a Gemini, you might bond with something based on that. But I always say too, like it's not I think the reason that they say, you know, I don't necessarily think that, because there are some religious people who will say that's a sin, you know what I mean? And I think what it really, you know, it's just it's something like with anything else, that it could become unproductive, right? It could become more harmful than helpful to you if you're too wrapped up in it. If you're running to, you know, the transits or you know, tarot cards, things like that, to an unhealthy extent, it can just be not helpful to you, right? Because it's really important, and I think that's what a really big thing is: trusting your own intuition, connecting with your own intuition, talking to God, you know, having faith in things and trusting yourself. And when you're reaching for outside guidance all the time, it really pulls us away from trusting our own inner guidance. And I think that it's in that way, it cannot be helpful sometimes.
Right. So it's
If
like,
it's too much, everything in balance, you know?
right. So it's like not being put into a box. So you are what you identify yourself as. Like I could be like, I am a New Yorker, I am a Gemini, I'm an American, I'm mixed
I'm a
race.
bitch.
And it's all factual things, but it's like you yourself decide how you represent that. And other
Right.
people can decide that they're gonna misrepresent you by that. Like, oh, you're a
Right.
New Yorker, you must be rude, or oh, you're a Gemini, you must be a psycho, or oh, you're American,
You're
again, you
not
must be rude.
wrong.
I think the more you can offer yourself a different perspective, the more you learn about yourself and the world around you at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So don't let other people put you in boxes. If you want to put yourself in your own box, you define what that box is.
And just having more knowledge, it helps you form what you believe, right? What you helps you figure out what you resonate with or not.
Right, definitely.
I'm in a crate, digging in the crates.
You're digging into crates. That's your box. He's like, yeah, I decided my identity is a crate. So me and Sarah Gemini's, Jared's a crate.
I'm gonna be honest, I identify as a fucking bitch. That's what I identify as. I kid. I'm not really.
I
It's
identify as a boss badass.
Jared's like, I've known you.
Yeah, we know you. Well, thank you for going on this journey with us. Smile, learn, wander, wonder. Kind of fake news again. You can go to www.turnitupproductions.com. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and we thank you for taking this journey with us. Peace.